Good day, everybody, and welcome to the Doc of Detox show. I'm here with Curtis Stone, and he's known as the urban farmer. And understand something, okay? We all better become urban farmers. What do you think?
Everybody start getting closer to their food system, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, there was a saying that once you control the energy, once you control the food, you control everybody. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Henry Kissinger said that, and he was bang on, and that's where we are.
Yeah, but Henry Kissinger didn't mean it in a good way.
No, exactly.
He meant it in a bad way. If you want to talk about Mr. Evil.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and so, I mean, right now we are... we were talking a little bit earlier about generations, and when I wrote my book, The Urban Farmer, I kind of did a bit of research on what happened to agriculture, and really after the Green Revolution, when agriculture became totally industrialized, is a massive turning point.
When was that?
This was in the 1950s, around there.
And it wasn't a Green Revolution.
No, it was the opposite. Just like everything these elites tell us, it was really the opposite of what it is. They called it the Green Revolution because now everybody didn't have to work on the farm. That seemed like a liberating thing in some ways. And there's no doubt that we've had some benefit to that in civilization. However, less than 2% of people now work in agriculture. And that means that only 2% of people or less work on farms. And if you look at people who actually manage the farms, it's probably only 1% of that 2%. So
what do you mean? What's the other 1% doing?
Labor, general labor. They go and they pick potatoes all day or whatever the job.
Right.
But there's really only probably 1% of that 2% that actually know how to bootstrap a farm. They know how to fix the machinery, know how to get the business going. They know how to succession plan the farm so that it runs and produces product all year round. So we're at a point right now where very few people in society understand how food is grown and where it comes from. And if you don't have educated people about food, they don't make good consumer decisions. And so this is why, in my opinion, why people are out buying terrible food all the time, because they don't understand how it's made. And so if you don't understand it, you can't really make an educated decision.
We are so removed from being human beings. We're just human doings.
Absolutely.
And the reality is BG, initials, okay? All right, about using synthetic meat. I mean, everything.
Unbelievable.
People are going to buy into this stuff. You know what?
Oh, full on.
And you're not plastic people. You're not synthetic, everyone. You know, we are living, breathing, walking, talking organisms.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just one big glob of bacteria that work off of vibration. And if you're going to bring in these low vibrational foods, and guess what? They're not even at zero. You know, everything has a vibration. Well, let's just put it this way. Synthetic meat vibrates below zero, which means you're going to wake up things that only dead people have.
Well, and that's really part and parcel to this whole system and how everything is dead, lifeless. That these people that are pulling the strings, they for a long time wanted us to remove everything that makes us, brings
human.
us up, right? Brings us, elevates us. The destruction of the family unit, right? This promotion of all these things that are anti-human, right? Break up the family, support, promote transgenderism and all these things that just remove us from what naturally occurs, what God gave us to exist on this planet. It's just crazy. And food is...
Kill God. That's what I say. Let's just kill God.
Absolutely.
And you can't kill God unless you want to kill every human being and make them into human doings. And understand, when you dumb down the food, when you dumb down the education, you dumb down the human, you prepare them for robotics.
Absolutely. And the food is, that's my thing as a farmer. That's been my passion for 12 years now. And yeah, it's nonstop. I mean, right now, with what's going on, we're seeing a total breakdown of our system in every way, culturally, politically, economically, through education, spirituality, culture, everything. And I think that a big tipping point is going to be when we start to see supply chain breakdowns in the food system. We're going to start to see a series of cascading events that a lot of people are going to be really caught off guard with. And
it's not just a movie. Everything you've ever watched was to prepare you, okay?
Absolutely.
It wasn't to prepare you like we're going to get you. It was just to get the mind used to keep seeing the image over and over again. So when you see the image, you'll accept it that much quicker, because guess what? You're going to be brainwashed, whether you do it for yourself or someone else does it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah, I mean, here we are. I mean, I've seen this coming for a long time. I've been preparing for a long time. I was motivated to become a farmer back in 2007. I started to kind of wake up to some of the geopolitical issues going on. I was a hipster musician in Montreal, but I was paying attention to what was going on. And I at that point, I said, you know what? The last thing the world needs right now is another great musician. And so I began what's now a 12-year journey to become a farmer. And now I teach people about agriculture, and I'm hoping that, you know, my efforts have motivated a lot of people to get closer to the land.
How do you teach them?
Well, I used to do a lot of in-person workshops, traveled around the world. Now it's all online. So I have a website called fromthefield.tv.
Fromthefield.tv.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody.
And so that's my own platform. You know, I've got a YouTube channel with around 500,000 subscribers. So I'm out there in the public. But YouTube, as you know, and these mainstream platforms are limited. And they promote an algorithm that, you know, gives them what they want. Clickbait, flashy titles, information without a lot of substance. It's really hard to find good substance on these platforms now. And so you have to...
And so where's your platform?
So our platform is fromthefield.tv. I mean, I use YouTube.
Yes.
But I barely post anything there. I mostly just live stream there every Thursday at 9 a.m.
So your shows just go on your
my
.com.
own. Yep, that's right, on my .tv.
Yeah, like we have Doc of Detox show. We put all our shows there still, right, Drake? Yeah. So our shows go there too.
Yeah, and this is actually the future, in my opinion, if you're going to be a content creator in sort of a niche space. Sure, if you're making videos on how to do transgender makeup, YouTube will promote the hell out of it.
Yeah, if you do everything politically correct.
They love it,
okay.
Absolutely. But for those of us who are truth tellers and who are giving information that goes against the narrative and the status quo, we all need to have our own sort of walled communities. And actually, that is going to be, in my opinion, how it's going to be in the real world too. Because if we get to a point where it's you need a vaccine ID to go and shop at the store, what are you going to do if you don't want to take that vaccine? So what I started to do 2 years ago...
Become a burglar.
Well, exactly. Or something.
Yeah.
Be part of some underground movement, which is, you know, probably going to happen in some way or another. But I did that online a couple years ago, and it's been great. It's been the best business decision I've ever made.
And this is why everybody needs to give their email. If you go to my website, you know, make sure you give us your email. It's not about marketing product. It's about marketing information. You know, they're trying to make the box very small. It's almost as small as a sugar cube here. So the reality is, if we got to go back to the way we used to be. I mean, I just collect emails because at the end of the day, the game is rigged.
Absolutely. It's totally rigged. And that's exactly what I do. I've been telling my audience for years. Like I said, I have a fairly large YouTube audience, but I've been telling people for years, because I started talking about truther things a few years ago, and fortunately never got too out there that they deleted my channel or censored me, because I saw this coming. I said I'm going to set up my own platform so that I can tell the truth there. Now, I do tell a lot of the truth on my live streams, but I delete them within 24 hours, and I archive them up on my website. And so my site is all about high value, long form information on how people can make a living on the land, or how they can homestead and do all the things that they need to do to survive. And I think you look at today, people don't have these skills. We're so far removed. Like in my family, my grandfather was the last one to actually be on a farm, but he left the farm.
So was mine.
And this is quite typical in North American and Western culture, is we're generations removed from actually being on the land. And so there's a lot of relearning we have to do to reconnect with the land.
And talking about learning, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll be on here from 1 until maximum 3, 2 hours. So put all your questions right now, all your questions. Whether you want to grow something inside, outside, where you live, how to do it, any questions you have about growing, what foods maybe you should be growing at what time of the year, or how to grow them. What are some of the things? Give them some of the things that to trigger their heads, all the listeners here, that what questions they might want to think about to help them.
Well, a big question on a lot of people's mind right now is, this is probably one of the more common ones I have, is I'm in a city. I don't have much space to grow food. Where should I grow food? And That's one. Another one might be, okay, I grow some of my own food, but I can't grow everything. How do I start getting more local stuff so that I'm not in a pinch? Another one is we've got food shortages coming, and they are coming, and they already are actually here, and we're going to see massive food inflation very soon. What do I start doing to prepare for that? Things like this. These are serious issues, and I've been telling people for years these things were going to happen. I even started when this whole Rona hoax, let's call it, started in February of last year. I was telling people in my streams what was going to happen, and here we are. And I'm not proclaiming to be some guru that has some foresight that nobody else. It's just logic. I've looked at history. You look at Stalinist Russia. You look at Pol Pot in Vietnam, Nazi Germany. We've been here before. These things have happened. And so I try to be optimistic about it. This is nothing that humanity hasn't seen before. It's just the more foresight you can have, and the better, and the closer you can be to the things that you need day in and day out, the better. And so I really focus on the four nexuses of human survival. And there's others, but at the center of it, it's really food, water, energy, shelter. What have you got for those four things? If you can't control those things, just look at what happened in Texas this month, right? It's a perfect example of a black swan event that came in and hammered people, and they weren't prepared. And then you've got people waiting in bread lines. And the system wants that. They
still
want you
have
to be.
them in bread lines.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be over for a long time in Texas.
We're this whole thing, and we're going to start seeing these events like we saw in Texas in other places. And so this is nothing new. We've seen all this before. Just look back in history and what people did. And generally speaking, the people that survived Pol Pot, the people that survived Stalin, they were people that were outside of the major metropolitan areas. They had their financial assets in some kind of hard reserved assets. Back then, it was gold and silver. Now we've got other alternatives. We've got cryptocurrency, things like this. But primarily, they were close to their food. And that's really the most important one. And, water too. For us in Canada, that's not so difficult. But energy is going to be a big one. And for us who live in cold climates, if these things happen in the winter, I think we're past winter now. Mostly we're going into the growing season.
Yeah, but
Thank
we're going
God.
back into winter
We're going to go back into winter.
It's not like it's done.
No, we're going to go back into winter again.
Learn what happened to Texas. People were burning their furniture.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't want to freeze to death,
Yep.
and they burnt their houses down.
Yep. So all those things are going to happen and more. And you know what? The way I look at it is, I hope I'm wrong with all of this. And if I am, great. You prepared and you covered yourself for when it does happen, because it's an inevitability at this point.
You know what? Here's the deal. Make yourself sick through conflict and through shock, or take massive action, because whenever you're taking massive action in your life on a personal level, you're not worried.
Yeah.
Because you're taking action.
That's right.
So don't take action. Have a reaction a few times a day that sets off your adrenals, and then burn the crap out of yourself, and you'll be so sick you'll be in bed. And then people don't even know what sickness is today. That when somebody gets sick and they're laid up in bed, the longer you're going to be in bed and the worse your symptoms are, is how much you terrorized yourself. Nothing more. When we get sick, it's because we're trying to get well. Did you ever notice something? That when there's tons of stress going on and there's tons of drama, nobody has any symptoms. None.
Yes.
But soon as all the drama calms down,
yes,
then the body says, now can I heal?
That's
and
right.
with comes healing, swelling, inflammation, and pain. And then guess what? You don't even know what the human body is telling you. It's saying, I love you, but you're going to have to go through some suffering. So you don't do that again. But no, then you go and you say, shut the hell up. And then you break your relationship with your body, and you break your body. And we broke our body when it comes to food, because we got synthetic meat coming. Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. That should be good for all the people that don't want to eat, grow cattle. But the reality is we're not synthetic. And the reality is we broke our agreement, okay, with nature 2 generations ago.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of solutions out there. I like what you said, actually, because it takes a crisis to really mobilize people.
What?
Yeah, and we haven't fully seen it yet. And in a way, I'm grateful for that. But
because you have time to prepare. Because
that's right.
Once you're awake, you'll never fall asleep again.
No, and the thing that I try to do right now, like I said, I've been preparing for this for really 12 years. But when this whole thing started February last year, my wife and I got radical. We have 2 young children, and every day we're taking steps, we're taking actions to set ourselves. I'm following this timeline. In the fall of last year, in October, there was an email that came out that's referred to as the LPC leaked email. It was somebody that is apparently, allegedly, in the steering committee of the PMO, leaked this email and kind of laid out this timeline of all these things happening in Canada. And I'm still skeptical of it. I don't know it's true or not. However, there's 12 points in there, and 6 of them have all been dead on as what was predicted in this email. So for myself, I don't say any of this to scare people. I just say this to motivate you to do something about it. Take action.
When it rains, you get wet. Yeah. Get an umbrella.
Yeah. Take action. But I'm basically looking at, before the end of this year, my family, it needs to be completely off grid, have all of our own food, have the ability to produce our own energy by the and we're already halfway there right now. But before the end of this year, and have our food, water, energy, shelter completely set up. And so that's a tall order. Not everybody can do that, but there are solutions people can do. One thing that you should be doing is you should be forming tight-knit communities of people who are awake.
Don't stay apart. Come together. This whole social distancing BS is, there's all kinds of meta things happening there, but really you should be doing the opposite. Honestly, in my opinion, you should be doing the opposite of whatever these people are telling you. You should be coming together. I'm not a churchgoer, but church is a great thing for that. There's a lot of great church communities that are still, in spite of what is being said, are coming together. Coming together is really important, because it might get to a point where you literally have to form a caravan and get out of the city. And you're going to have stored food, protection. The bigger the city,
the worse. That absolutely. The bigger the city, the worse.
The bigger the city, the bigger the target.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you can hit a target when it's not moving.
That's right. And just look at history for that. I mean, I kind of follow a lot of sort of anarchist thinking with things, and I look at the state as just this coercive agency that has a monopoly on the use of force. And if you look from the perspective of an agency that coerces the public, their power is most concentrated in the areas where there's the most amount of people. It's common sense. So as we have seen all of these government regulations and lockdowns and things like this happen, we have seen them happen in the areas where there's the highest concentrations of people. Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg. The biggest cities in Canada are the ones that are the worst.
Biggest cities in United States. Biggest cities
absolutely
in Europe, Asia. I mean, there's a pattern.
There's a pattern here. And so if you can get out of the city, all the better. Now, not everybody has the ability to get out of the city. I get that. But what you really do need to think about is, how are you going to get out of the city when you absolutely have to get out, where there's no other alternative? It's survival.
Think about your aunt, uncle, friend.
Yeah.
Someone.
Well, what are you going to do when you want to get out of the city and everybody else wants to get out of the city at the same time? It means you're not taking your car, because like every zombie apocalypse movie ever produced in Hollywood has shown us, and it's actually very realistic, is that all the interstate and major highways are going to be gridlocked. So you're not getting out. The only way you're getting out is if you have an alternative form of transportation, a dirt bike, a really good mountain bike maybe, but in winter, that in Canada, that could be very challenging. You need to have sort of a plan A and a plan B on what you're going to do when things start to get hairy, and they will. And there's going to be a point where everybody's going to get woke with their pants down at the last moment, because there's a lot of people that are fence sitters right now. There's a lot of people that are just kind of putting on the mask, and they're going to stores, and they know it's bullshit, but they're doing it because it's easier, right? But when it comes to the point where there's the sort of proverbial line in the sand that says you cannot participate in the public life unless you have the Canada Health Pass or the vaccine ID, they've already got it in Israel, and then that's going to be the line in the sand that most people will not cross. And then that's going to be the point where people are going to get woken up at the last moment and say, I can no longer do this. But unfortunately, everybody else is waking up at the same moment, and that's a logistical challenge.
So, what would you do in the case of food?
Everybody should have.
I live in the city.
Yeah.
I live in an apartment.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
You should have an alternative way to cook food. So you should probably have like a small propane stove with at least a few weeks of propane. You should have, at the very least, 7 days of food. So, you know, the traditional prepper has got the bug out bag. You know, they got a bag. It's a bag they can just grab and go. It'll have, you know, a few days of water, 7 days of dried food, a way to cook that food, some form of protection. Just go and search a bug out bag, and everybody should have that. But you might have to be a situation if you're, say, locked in your condo in Vancouver and it's absolute, everybody's trying to get out. You might, your strategy might be better to say, I'm just going to hunker down right here and not leave my apartment for 7 days, and maybe there'll be an opening or an opportunity to get out later once the madness stops. And so you should have a lot of food and water so that if the lights go out, the power goes down, you can cook food, you can at least keep your apartment warm enough, and you can survive for a period of time.
And the reality is we really are not fearmongers. So
no, that's
the
not
reality
what this
is let's see a miracle and not have it happen. But the reality is what do you lose? What are you going to lose in just preparing and giving yourself peace of mind?
That's exactly what I have said for years. You have nothing to lose.
You're going to eat it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. There's no downside. Like in my opinion, every home should have always at least 1 year of food. At least 1 year of food.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive.
It's
when
not.
you take a look at beans and lentils and rice,
Exactly.
at least, you know,
Yep.
anybody can make that.
Yep.
Okay, you know?
Yep, basic oils, basic salts, basic stuff you need to just create enough sustenance to survive. Sure, it's not the most ideal diet to just be eating that stuff, but hey, survival or not.
You'd be surprised how good that's going to taste.
Yeah, well, if times are tough and you got nothing else, absolutely.
And let's always wish for the best for everything in every place. But you know what? If I go swimming and I know it's going to be a long swim, I will take something to make sure I stay afloat.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always said throughout this whole thing, I'm hoping for the best and I'm planning for the worst. There's no downside to being prepared, because the other upside you get when you start preparing is you start to think about things differently. You start to look at all the actions you take in your day-to-day life and go, do I need to do this? Can this action be consolidated down? Can I do this less? Like my wife and I, we have 2 young children, and we're very prepared, but we still go to the store, but we're going to the store way less now than we ever had because we're buying things in bulk. And that's one thing people could be doing right now with others, coming together, forming little food buying cooperatives. Going to places like OM Foods or some of the sort of places like this that sell bulk, large amounts of food, and go and buy in volume together. It's called a buyer's club. Form a buyer's club. You know, you can do the same thing with a farm. I even did this year. I formed a half-acre cooperative farm with 12 other people. Like we started it last year. Now we have 12 members. But we did this just as an exercise to go, hey, let's grow all of our own food together, because a lot of people can't buy land even. And so we did this. We got a lease on a farm in town here, and a half-acre lease. It cost us a couple $1,000 a year, but the 12 of us can pool our resources and grow a massive amount of produce that's good, organic, quality food. At the same time, I'm training these people, so we're disseminating the information, the knowledge, getting them on the land. We're bringing our kids together. We're actually having a really fun time when we do it too. But it's a really good exercise in what we should be doing anyways. Whether we're preparing for the apocalypse or not, more people should be getting connected to where their food comes from. And so it's not just growing it yourself, it's building relationships with other farmers that are producers and getting the things that you can't grow directly from them, not through a grocery store, not through a supplier, directly to the farmer. And when times get tough, farmers are going to have to prioritize their customers. It's just the sad reality of it. And they're going to prioritize the customers that are easy to sell to, the ones that always pay on time and that are low maintenance. And so building those relationships now is the best thing you could really do, besides for growing it yourself.
And for those of you who haven't learned how to master your emotions, please breathe in 6 seconds and out 7 seconds right now. Calm your breath down, okay? Calm your mind down. Don't let it run away like a horse, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to just lose
That's right.
it here. And you every time that you have any type of fear, you're not going to make a good decision. And just calm down. This is why we have to find our brave hearts, and we have to understand something. Living on this planet is an adventure. And if you walked around with a slight smile on your face and you connected to your breath, okay, and stay connected to your breath, you'd be in the present moment, which means you get stuff done. And if you're not connected to the present moment, then you're getting nothing done. So the reality is, in bad times, you'll know how emotionally stable you are, because you know what I say? It takes a chaos and some conflict to show you if you've ever even mastered your emotions. Everybody does great when everything goes your way.
Yeah.
But when things aren't going your way, you got to become the way. Yeah. And I think that's the objective here. So it's not about just, hey, did you get this? Did you get just, you know what? You'd be surprised. You see outside your door, you see this little snail, and he's moving so slow. You could stand there and watch him. Or by the time you go in and you go to the bathroom and you make yourself a cup of coffee because you want to sit out on the deck, you can't find him. The reality is just get started, but stay connected to your breath and stay calm.
That's a really good way of putting it. And the way that I try to wrap my head around all the things that are going on right now is I'm not fearful about any of it. What I actually believe is that we chose to be here in this life at this moment.
This time.
And what a great time to be alive. I believe we're at the cusp of a great transition into a new awakening. And not everybody's going to be joining us, unfortunately. And we have to accept the fact that a lot of people in your life are going to think you're nuts, probably even for watching this show. They're going to think you're crazy and believing the things that you do. But look where we are.
Hold on. They're going to think you're nuts. They don't think I'm nuts. Please. Okay, maybe I should do the 6 foot rule. Right now.
Right.
Okay. No, you know what? We are nuts, okay? And understand something. It's the craziest thing, but guess what? It's really crazy how the majority rules, but the majority is also 86% of the population has an autoimmune disease. Not 1, not 2, but up to 3. And today, you're healthy if you're not in the hospital, but you can have cancer.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whoever could have thought about we'd be in this position where you would actually have negative symptoms showing that you're toxic, and you'd say, well, I'm healthy. Really?
Yeah.
I have an autoimmune disease, but right at this moment, it's not bugging me.
Yeah. And so anyways, I look at it as if we chose to be here in this moment. This is a great time to be alive, and enjoy it. Have fun and connect with others. The most important thing I found for my mental health during all this has been to form relationships with people that are on my wavelength.
That's right.
And not waste time. Don't be wasting time on social media trying to convince people to not get the vaccine. I believe at this point there's enough awake people.
Yeah.
We've got enough people to do this.
We do.
What we need to do now is come together and form our tribe. Because if we get distracted with fighting with other people, that's what they want you to do. They want you to be wasting time on doing things that have no return.
Love yourself well. And allow others to be who they need to be, and forgive them and move on, and only focus on what you want.
Yep. Mind
your own business. Mind your own business of healing yourself and your family.
Yeah. And that's so important right now. And in 2020, when all this stuff started happening, I had to cut off a lot of people in my life. But the thing that happened on the other side was that I formed some of the greatest relationships with people that I've ever met in my life. And we have these bonds and these groups, and we get together, and it's amazing. And that's one thing I tell people from a preparedness standpoint is you should have 5 people in your life that for instance, if I asked you, who are the 5 people, if the lights went out right now and the proverbial shit hit the fan, who would you call that would have your back, and would you do the same for them? Would you drop everything to help them if they were in a tight spot and had no other options? And who are those 5 people? And now start having those conversations with them to prepare.
And guess what? You know how you like superhero movies? Well, guess what? You need to become the hero of your movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is your movie. You're the director. You're the writer.
And I actually believe that very much in a sort of a spiritual sense, that this time we're in right now is the time for us to step up and claim our birthright as creators on this planet. We were born to do this. And we have been letting a very small group of people, call them 8,000 people, create the reality or tell us what they want us to create reality for. Now we need to create our own reality and write our own script and be the heroes in our own movie. And it's a great opportunity because there hasn't really been a moment, at least in my life, in my waking life, where I've seen enough things kind of come together, coalesce at once, that could create an environment that would allow this awakening. And it's now. And
don't forget, put your questions below, okay? Put your questions below. We'll collect them off of YouTube. We'll collect them off of Facebook. And that's about it, right? Okay, those are the two places. And the reality is, too, if you want, you can call in tomorrow. And maybe we'll take a couple live callers from 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. We'll be answering questions live tomorrow. Okay? All right? So what else would you like to tell everybody?
I mean, so many things. I look, the way I see it is prepare, like I said, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. But just the key is start taking action now. Do not wait until everybody else takes action. You want to look at a present example of how this can happen. Is we talked about Texas earlier and what happened there. And in Texas, that was a perfect example of nobody being prepared, and then all of a sudden you're waiting in a bread line. And when you're waiting in a bread line, you're dependent on a system that's outside of your control, meaning that you will most likely face some consequences because government isn't going to be in a rush to help anybody. They like to tell us that they will, but they won't. So you need to be taking action now. Food, water, energy, shelter, in my opinion, are the absolute priorities because without those, you can't live. But outside of that, you can expand that into education of your children. I mean, as a parent, I don't know why anybody would have their kids in public school at this point in time. I've woken up to the whole schooling system a long time ago. But with what they're doing and the acts and statutes that they're passing, it's getting to a point where they can literally take your children and in some countries and even some states and provinces, they can take your children and vaccinate them without your consent. That was passed in a number of states in the U.S. That hasn't happened in Canada yet, to my knowledge. But this is serious, and the amount of propaganda that is being pumped out from the mainstream media on a day-to-day basis and creating this fear of people like us. Anybody watching this show, they're creating this fear of the anti-maskers, right? They're creating this dialogue or this narrative about the other, and they're dehumanizing us. I think what we have to do to transcend that is not do that to them. Don't look at everybody like sheep, or don't refer to everybody as sheep. Don't get into those traps, because this is the beginning of some sort of a genocide. It is the great divide. And this is what they've done in every single totalitarian regime, is that they dehumanize the other. With Stalin and Lenin called them the kulaks. And so anybody who owned a small farm and a cow was a kulak. Okay, now they're the ones that are taking your stuff, so go get them. They're doing the same thing now by dehumanizing the truth movement. They've compartmentalized people into this QAnon nonsense, all this stuff, and they have basically corralled all these people into this one area, so now that they can say, hey, look, those people, those are the bad ones. And so we need to be aware of that narrative, the way it's going, and prepare for that by forming tight-knit communities with others, being prepared in the ways that I mentioned, and don't fall into the traps.
And if I can say something, this show will stay up for an hour after we finish, and then it will be going on Telegram, Doc of Detox Show, and it will not be staying up on YouTube or Facebook, because we don't really need to get punished right now today. And like I said, get your questions in. We'll take them off, and then we'll answer questions tomorrow. And when it comes to the questions, let's talk about food preparation. Let's talk about shelter. Let's talk about things that we would talk about normally. We don't want to get into political issues tomorrow. This is really about the health and welfare of you and your family on an emotional, nutritional, and physical level. Okay? So I need everybody to get that. And my Telegram is t.me/, can you put it up for them, please? / the Doc of Detox. Now that's where we're going to find all my information, all my shows, and a lot of shows like Sherry Tenpenny's coming on next Thursday. That show will only be on for an hour, and then it'll be moved to Telegram, it'll be moved to my BitChute, and it'll be moved to docofdetoxshow.com. I cannot keep it up there because Facebook I utilize because I train people like I do every morning, like, on the root of all disease, like on my one-a-days every morning to try to teach you things. So we want to use these platforms, but make sure you go to my website and go into my library and sign up and get your email in there so that you always stay connected. And get your email, to Curtis. Go to his website. What's your website?
Fromthefield.tv. Or you can go to the urbanfarmer.co as well. I've got an email list there. I'm also on Telegram. If you search the SHTF Farmer on Telegram, I've got a channel on there. I do the same thing. SHTF. Shit hits the fan.
Okay, all right. Okay, all right. And you know what? And he spreads that around too because it helps his crops.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely. Good old manure and compost. Does great for the crops.
God love it. Whether it's the soil or whether it's your large intestine, same thing. I'm a gardener of the body. He's a gardener of the
land.
Of the land. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what would you like to leave everybody with?
There's always hope. There's always a better way. You can look at everything right now and be fearful about it. It's important to not be in fear because that's the trap. And there's something great that's going to come out of this. I know it. I just believe that we're going to have a transitionary period.
Well, we couldn't keep going the way we were going.
There's no way. Well, that's true.
We couldn't keep going the way we were going.
That's why, in a way, Darrell, what happened, all it really did was magnify problems that were already there anyways.
Yeah.
So this, in a way, kind of brought it to light. It almost seems like there was some kind of divine intervention with this whole thing. I can't help but think that. I don't know that. But all these things we talked about with the body, you talk about in health, with agriculture, with the economy, with culture, all of these things have been brewing for a long time.
We've lost our spiritual essence. End of story.
Absolutely.
And it was gone before the sea thing happened.
Yep.
Okay, it all fell into the sea way before that.
It did.
When a 5-year-old knows how to go on a computer and go and watch any porn they want, it's all gone to hell in a basket.
Absolutely. Cultural
Jesus.
collapse, all these things. But in a way, like, I'm actually very grateful that this happened because it really put me to focus on my priorities. Who do I need around me? What are the things that I have to do now to really prioritize my life? For me, if I'm living off grid on the mountain, I want to live that way anyways. I want to be closer to nature. I've been farming in the cities for 10 years and it's been great. It got me where I was. It allowed me to start farming without having any money, without buying land.
Aren't we all just trying to get back to the spirit of ourselves? I mean, the real authentic selves that is our spirit. That's all we're trying to do.
I think so.
And you know what? When you feel displaced and when you feel alone, even in a large room of people, it's because you no longer feed your spirit. And if you don't feel your spirit, your body will rot out. End of story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is vibration. Everything is light. Everything is frequency. We're electromagnetic, light energy beings. And you know what? He'll tell you just as much as I will that guess what? Everything you eat leaves the body. The only thing that stays in there is the vibration. So who grew it? Who planted it? Who grew it? Who harvested it? Who cooked it? How did they treat it?
Absolutely. That's an interesting. You articulated it in a way that I've known internally for a long time, but it's an interesting way of putting it, and that's the magic that happens when you do grow your own food. When you actually connect to that process, there is some kind of energetic thing that happens, and I can't say scientifically what happens nutritionally. I don't know. That's not my field of expertise. However, I can tell you that to share the food that we've grown with my family every day, there's something special about that. And to be in the process, to touch the earth, I really believe in grounding. It's unbelievable what happens to children, especially. You take a kid who seems a little bit dysfunctional during the day, maybe they're having a temper tantrum or a meltdown. You get that kid in the garden and get their hands and their feet in the dirt. It's unbelievable what happens. And it happens to me too. And you get in there and you connect, and my mind, like when I'm working in the garden and I'm doing some sort of menial task that needs to be done, my mind is going to places that I would have never had the opportunity to if I was just sitting there trying to think of something. But when I'm involved in that task and I'm doing that thing and I'm connected and I'm part of the energy ebb and flow of the earth, it's incredible how that changes.
Yeah, you go deep and you get rooted in. And
Yeah.
you root into yourself. That's what you find. You find yourself in the garden.
It's amazing. And I really hope more people do that. And right now is a great opportunity to do it. There's all these signs that are telling you should do it. So do it.
And guess what, everyone? Okay? Climate change, whatever. Okay? Too many people? No, there's not. There's
That's
enough
BS.
water. There's enough food. And guess what? There'll be enough love for everyone if you learn how to love and care for yourself and be that light for your family. And that's the God's truth.
Absolutely. And that is probably the most powerful and transcendent thing people can do right now, is to be that beacon, is to show people how, through your actions, a better way. And that's what I try to do with my farming, and I hope more people. There's other ways you can do it, right? Everybody has their calling, everybody has their thing, and it's important to recognize that. But be that light for people, and I think the next number of years, as things get darker and darker and darker, will be lighter for us.
Yeah. How do you feel when you actually serve others? Well, you feel great as long as you've looked after yourself first. It's not selfishness. You have to look at yourself on an emotional, spiritual, and physical level so that you have the energy, so that you have that bright light that people go, oh, there's the light, go to the light.
Yeah.
Why don't you be the light? So think about your day today, about keeping a slight smile on your face, because don't tell me you need a reason to smile. Be grateful for everything.
Absolutely.
And you know what? Fill up your heart with love from yourself. Don't expect it from your family. They're so scattered. They need a brave heart. And you've got to rise, and you've got to find your roar. Where can people go to get information? How would I get started if I wanted to dive into Curtis Stone?
The easiest way, the cheapest and freest way, is just find me on YouTube. I've got a channel there with close to 1,000 videos, The Urban Farmer on YouTube. And if you want really in-depth things, so I stopped kind of mostly posting to YouTube about 2 years ago, and I started, my mission was to visit the best regenerative farmers in North America and showcase their work. And that's all in long form. So I produce very long form, in-depth, highly detailed videos. That's all up at fromthefield.tv. So you might get a taste for who I am and what I do on YouTube. But if you want to go deeper, you can go.
Okay, so I want to spend some
fromthefield.tv.
money. So tell me how I can spend some money so I can get into it, so I can get it on.
Do that. Go to
okay, money's not a bad
fromthefield.tv.
thing. You
Absolutely.
deserve it.
Yeah.
They need to give it to you.
Yeah.
And they might as well get it straight.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That's the best place to do it. I also have a very extensive Microgreens online course that I've produced. You can find information about that from
guys,
thefield.tv.
Microgreens. I live in an apartment. Guess what? They will keep you alive and thrive.
Absolutely.
End of story.
Yeah.
Remember what that microgreens, and where can they go to see that?
They can just find that at fromthefield.tv. You can find information about my premium microgreens course there. And it's basically a business in a box. We talk about the nutritional benefits, but I mean, great thing about microgreens is you could literally start a business and make $2,000 a week in a room this big.
Yeah.
With very little upfront expense. And so that is a business model that is still proving very effective. In this course, we give people the marketing tools, how to do it. We show you how to even set up a Facebook campaign to go in and get customers. But then, of course, all the things, the details, how to set up your grow room, how to grow outdoors, how to do it all. We look at every single crop, where you can sell them. It's a complete business in a box. And so that's a big part of what I've done over the last couple of years is that.
Business in a pot.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
What else? What else can they find?
Well, my book, The Urban Farmer.
Yeah.
That's available anywhere. It's worldwide distribution. That is also a business in a box where I basically showed people how you could make a living as a farmer without owning any land and farming on a quarter acre or even less, how you can make a living. And so I proved that with my business and my farm over the last 10 years and have spent the last 6 years traveling around the world showing people how to do that. And now there's, hundreds of thousands of people that are doing this. You can make a good living. You can make $100,000 on a quarter acre or less of land.
Wow.
It's finding the right customers, looking at the right crops, And
And
there's
you
never,
guide them. You guide them.
I got them through. Oh, absolutely. And I tell people this all the time. And I said this 10 years ago when I really started this journey, but I even say it today with what's going on right now. There's actually never been a better time to be a farmer than right now. Because what's happening right now is we're going through this great transition where most of the farmers in the world are over the age of 60. In North America, it's about 65. So there's going to be this massive transformation of agriculture, for better or worse. We don't want to give it to BG and his cronies, right? And so we need to empower ourselves and start taking control of that. And that really is with small farming, because it's not about dominating the world's food system. It's about finding a niche and an opportunity and providing a service that's needed in your community. And everybody needs a small farmer. And so it's a great time to be a farmer, because
become the gift.
There's a new way to do it. And it's not really new, but it's looking at some of the current marketing ways and platforms we have to sell and catering to those. And, a small family can make a great living on a front and a backyard in a suburban community. It's very possible. So it's not about growing corn and squash and rice and things like that. It's more about growing living foods that I'm sure you're big on.
Yeah, I am. Well, it's all about that. It's all about whole plant-based, right? Because everything, when you look at a food, you ask yourself, how much light is in there, right? How high is the frequency? Okay, because whether you want to believe this or not, everyone, every mineral, every vitamin leaves the body. The only thing that stays behind is the frequency. And that's why vitamin L is the best vitamin in the world, and it's called love. Love yourself well so that you can shine that light on your family, because whether you believe it or not, when you shine hope, courage on your family, you're giving them the whole rainbow of antioxidants. Yeah. And then when you give fear to your family, guess what you're doing? You're devitalizing their spirit. You're sucking them dry. So think about it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what's going on right now. Is they're ramping up the fear game. We need to do the opposite.
Yeah, when that all happens, I go like this. Okay, all right, whatever. Because it's, what? It's how you process. How do you process your stress? How do you process chaos? Right? Okay. And are you the fountain of happiness? I hope so. You know what? Fake it till you make it, and then make it a program, and make it a subconscious program that all you know is happy. Okay?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So we'll be back here tomorrow from 1 until 3, right?
Perfect. And if people want to, before that, I do my live streams on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, every Thursday at 9 a.m. So
Which is tomorrow.
So if you want to come in and check that out, and then I'll be back up here at 1.
Yeah, you know what they say, can't get enough of Curtis. Okay. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. And I want to thank everybody for joining me. And don't forget to dive on into my library on my website. But please give us your email, okay? And if you want to see the stuff, the other stuff, then go to t.me/the Doc of Detox on Telegram, or you can go to BitChute. And don't forget, I'll have Sherry Tenpenny on next week on Thursday. And that'll only be up for an hour. Go, please tell everyone, okay? And it'll be next week. What time are we doing, Sherry? 10 o'clock next week, Thursday? Correct. Okay, and don't forget to join me tomorrow morning before Curtis gets here, okay? I'm going to dive into your poop chute, okay? I'm going to talk about your colon, your large intestine, how it's the root of life, okay? And how it is not a garbage can. It is a compost that creates the most intelligent part of you, which is your bacteria. God bless. Thanks for joining us. Good day, I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe. Do you know why you or your friends or your family are struggling with their health? Well, because they've never been given a strategy. And every time they go to see a health practitioner, whether it's medical or natural, all they're doing is getting Band-Aids. What if we were able to create a strategy that you could create the perfect day from the minute you woke up until you went to bed, and then we continue to guide and support you along your journey as you grow, your program grows. And what if you only paid one price and you had unlimited support and guidance for the rest of your life. That's called the perfect day consultation. How would it feel to you? Better still, how would it change your life to be certified in the most powerful training in regards to the emotional and physical body? Whether you're coming to us to enhance your clinic, or for personal growth, or finally, to live your passion and purpose as a natural health practitioner, you are only limited by your beliefs, but that ends today. We will be holding this New World Practitioner certification in the amazing Casa del Agua facility, 15 minutes from Playa del Carmen in the beautiful Mayan Riviera of Mexico. Can't wait to see your smiling face.
Sage is by far the best teacher I have ever touched base with. I've done a lot of courses out there, a lot of programs, a lot of emotional work, mystery schools, but this really touches, it kind of bridges the emotion and the physical component together.
He's fun and he's thorough, and he doesn't, he's making sure that you know the techniques. And so when we walk away from this particular course, and we walk away, we feel confident, and he has given us that confidence.
I took my Touch for Health training in probably about 20 years ago. I also incorporate that into my practice, but it doesn't deal with the crystallization, inflammation, and calcification. So that's why I said that this is kind of the missing puzzle piece that I needed to help people get to their optimal health.
That's the moment where you leave and you become a complete professional in what you do and in your business. You leave with the ability to be a total professional at what you do.
You can deal with the emotions and let that go. Two, I can deal with the physical. But what we're doing with this non-surgical is you're combining the emotion and physical together.
And this is the component that now I can help others. And now I'm here, and I am trained, and I am certified, and I can take this, and I can help you.
Something about this spoke to me so true. The mind-body connection and being energy beings. It's profound, and I want to share it with others so that they can have the tools to feel this love and heal themselves.
And you as a practitioner or a doctor will be that guide to help see them transform and help support them through their conflict resolution, I call it, or making peace with things that have been unresolved.
Give me a call. This is your time to shine. Just remember, all questions matter because your life matters. You matter. If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.